Greetings, my lovelies. I'm going to tell you a story about my journey with Disney. So grab yourself a cup of tea, flounce yourself down into a nice comfy position, and grab yourself a banana. We're going to get started. I grew up in the era of the pre-dawn of the Disney princess, in the varied stories of the early years. The stories had grit and possibly, in today's view, somewhat trauma-filled lessons. But to me, they made the stories seem more real and the lessons more applicable to my life. Some of the most influential films were Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs from 1937, Pinocchio from 1940, Dumbo from 1941, Bambi from 1942, Lady and the Tramp from 1955, Old Yeller from 1957, 101 Dalmatians from 1961, Mary Poppins from 1964, The Aristocats from 1970, Pete's Dragon from 1977, The Rescuers from 1977, and The Fox and the Hound from 1981. These were the classics that I grew up with. Though many of the early Disney films were geared towards children, some of those fairy tales were a far cry from the feel-good Disney films of today. I was never able to relate to the typical Disney princess. Instead, relating to the boy who is abandoned and accused of being crazy in Pete's Dragon, the lonely girl from The Rescuers, the tramp from Lady and the Tramp, and Bambi, who lost his mother. The real grit and tragedies and hardships of these characters endured and what they overcame, I understood that. My world was different than my peers. My perceptions and processing of the world was different. I connected with the anti-hero in many of the stories. Old Yeller was not a tragedy for me. It didn't traumatize me. Old Yeller was a tale of real life, learning and understanding the illness that afflicted the animal and the sad reality of life in protecting the human family from his illness. And my father's very compassionate and science-supportive lesson of why vaccines are important in animals and in humans. There's a whole generation that's been brought up in what I call the feel-good princesses. There's nothing wrong with it. Aladdin, Pocahontas, Mulan, Beauty and the Beast, Tarzan, Lilo and Stitch, Moana, Frozen, and Little Mermaid. Not only do I struggle with the misrepresentation of cultures in some of these, but also the whole host of othering that has a tendency to go on. The princess I related to was not the Disney version of The Little Mermaid. It's a short animated piece produced by Reader's Digest in 1974. It's a wonderful and fairly accurate adaptation of Hans Christian Andersen's story. It is a tragedy. I think I watched that movie till the VHS tape had stretched so thin that it couldn't be repaired several occasions. It's now free on YouTube, and I will link it below. You should go see that. Maybe you can find a little related understanding at my hesitancy in joining a cosplay frenzy or a historical bounding Disney frenzy of making all the things Disney. I really do enjoy the Disney earlier works, not so much some of the later pieces. And frankly, most of the live action I can't sit through. I can't even get through 5 minutes of the live action of Cinderella or Beauty and the Beast. I just can't. But I love the idea of Disney. I really do. I like the idea of what they could do. I might also be a little bit jaded because I read a book in college that my professor recommended, and she had managed to extricate herself from the Disney cult in the early 90s. And she brought that influence into my college classroom. And I was already heavily biased. I do want to address here privilege. This is where I'm going to acknowledge that in that traditional list that I read to you, there are racist, bigoted, marginalized use of women, cultural tropes, and so many more problems in those Disney films. Disney was doing what was being done at the time in film. They can and should do better. Absolutely. I'm not going to go into all of the things they could do better and all the things that are wrong with the original list. My current predicament, though, is how do I make a Disney princess cosplay or a historical Disney costume that I can get behind? Something I can support. What is a character that I would like to depict? In 2020, there were images drawn by an artist, Gruberstein, and a group of my friends on the YouTube channels were making historically inspired Disney based on those photos. And I kind of joined in, sort of, but I did it my way. And we'll go into that in a minute. But some of the other supporters of this Disney historical costume, and they have some wonderful creations, I wanted to list some of them. They're amazing artisans. Marty from Scraps and Sequins, Marika from Enchanted Rose, Noelle from Costuming Drama, Melissa from Hat to Hem, Bella May Designs, Lady Rebecca Fashions, Kiralee Cosplay, Jewel Victoria, Abby Cox, Bernadette Banner, Sosteen, and Nicole Rudolph. I encourage you to check out their channels. I have put links below. Noelle from Costuming Drama, Lady Rebecca Fashions, and myself all have historical Disney playlists, so you're more than welcome to check those out as well. Back to the dilemma. So those photos went out, and everybody was getting excited about making them. I watched the first Frozen a couple years ago. I couldn't really bite my teeth into the movie. I watched it. The plot was not my thing, and the I Want to Go Build a Snowman song, I'm pretty sure I was over it after the first time I heard it, and then I heard it everywhere. Disney songs are supposed to be catchy, I get it. Frozen 2 had been out since 2019, and I thought, well, the animation's supposed to be better. So I took the plunge, pun intended, and watched that one, hoping for a cool wind of inspiration. Gail found me, and Bruni set fire to my creative soul. I found my princess. And honestly, probably not for the reasons you think. Pure and simple, I'm an earthy, shamanistic, pagan witch of mixed race. Elsa's blatant communication with her elements of her world sang to my soul. Yes, the graphics are 100% better, like I said. The music was okay, but it was the lesson of communicating with nature, allowing nature to speak to you, and you finding your place in the world, not in the world others created for you. That's my journey right there. That is what I found inspirational. I got it. It's saying to my inner hippie, tribal, ancestral soul. Now, how do I make it mine? I didn't want to copy any other artist's work. I wanted to create something as inexpensively as possible and something that I would be willing to wear that inspired me. I settled on bridging styles between the early bustle period as it started to morph into the natural form or princess-style dresses of the 1870s. I loved the look. I used recycled sheets, I Frankensteined a pattern ensemble, and I glided on with it. It took a 3-month-long process of figuring out the elemental resins, figuring out the embroidered buttons, the fit of the bodice, but I'm so in love with my ensemble. And I have a whole playlist for that, so see that link below. The journey was a long one. It really made me dive into the feelings about the Disney franchise, their culture, their message of the past, their restructurization, their revamping of the franchise. I know that my perceptions on Disney are not popular, but I was never a popular kid in school, and this isn't a popularity contest that I'm out to win, so who cares, right? We all have opinions and we have biases. And as we grow and we learn from our experiences, and hopefully that makes us better people as we move forward. I do not demean or belittle my friends who are all in love with things Disney, including the parks and more. I love and admire them. I admire their passion for the Disney franchise. It's just not my thing. But I love my friends, and I have found a way to share their love of Disney on my own terms, and you can do it too. I love the natural world. Dirt, grime, the grit of life. Life is messy and uncomfortable and confrontational and hard. We learn from this, and it's not easy. I may want to crawl into a hole and cry, but I learn from each and every experience. In my early life, learning from films, the things that influenced me, did not give me a happy ending most of the time. I learned that you can still have hope and compassion and not give up. I learned tenacity and grit. And I can still believe that each person will choose right given the chance. And I know that in reality, not everyone will. But till my last breath, I will breathe and wish and hope that they do. I keep thinking my next Disney cosplay reimagined might be Pinocchio from the 1940 film, or maybe The Tramp, or maybe even Elliot. There's so many possibilities to make these characters not the popular ones, but the ones that I can identify with, into historically inspired characters. Cruella de Vil in Viking times with a sword, or a Roman gladiator. Wouldn't that be amazing? I have some ideas. If anything, I want my story to show you that you can step outside the tropes of media and make the story yours. You can embrace the meanings that lift you up and share your culture and your connection to these stories. Create your art. Join me, will you? Announcements. I'm launching a new thing in my life. And I'm bringing it to you live in May and June. So I am dialing back the YouTube video releases. You'll only get 2 edited videos a month on my YouTube channel. But if you are a Patreon subscriber, next month I'm launching a pattern and a tutorial that goes with it. If you would like to contribute to this channel and the content, please consider dropping a few dollars over at my Ko-fi account, link below, or you can pop over, and I like to say flounce on over to my Patreon and join the subscriber list over there. I look forward to chatting with you in the next few weeks. Keep creating. Stay tuned for more art and more costuming and more fun. And there is so much more on the docket for 2021. So keep creating that art, and I'll see you later. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Ding, ding. If anything, I want my short story to show you is that you can step outside the tropes. Grab yourself a banana, some tea, and we're going to go over and flounce into this video where I'm going to tell you a story about my journey with Disney. So go grab your tea,